Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 144. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate you joining me on this episode and this channel where all we do is talk about new movies. New movies that come out in streaming or in theaters. We'll break them down, give our opinions, whether you should check this out in theater or streaming, or maybe even skip it. And then at the end of the podcast, we'll wrap everything up by deciding, is this movie, in my opinion, timeless? Is it something that I can rewatch in the future various different times and maybe want to own it on digital or physical media? All right, before we jump into this week's episode, little housekeeping items that I want to call out. Timeless Movie Podcast is out on all platforms like Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Give us a listen. I would really love if you guys can do us a favor and leave some reviews on Apple Podcasts, leave some reviews on Spotify, leave some comments on YouTube. That way we can really interact and talk more about some of the new movies that we're going to be covering for the rest of 2025. Speaking of new movies, episode 143 of the Timeless Movie Podcast is out on those platforms that I just mentioned. We ended up talking about a new movie from Neon called Together. It stars Alison Brie and Dave Franco. It is a horror-filled, but also kind of comedic moments in this movie, and a lot of body horror in regards to what happens in that story. If you have seen that movie, definitely go to episode 143, and again, leave a comment in Spotify and in YouTube. That way we can interact, and maybe you can agree or disagree with my opinion on whether that film is timeless. All right, let's go ahead now and jump in to this week's movie, in which we are talking about Universal's newest animated movie, the follow-up to The Bad Guys. That is right, we are talking about The Bad Guys 2. This film was one that I was excited for because I actually had never seen Bad Guys until earlier this week. I remember seeing trailers for Bad Guys 2, and I was just laughing at the ways that they were setting up these characters. You had Mr. Wolf, Mr. Snake, Mr. Piranha, you had Miss Tarantula, and Mr. Shark, this gang of bad guys that are trying to turn good. And from what I saw from the Bad Guys 2 trailer, it just really hooked me. I was laughing. The way that it was animated was really just well done. And so that motivated me to want to watch the first one, and I was pleasantly surprised. I did not expect to enjoy the first one as much as I did. The story made so much sense. The messaging, the theme that it had about just different perspectives that people kind of make out for these characters. You have, Wolf, who is really the main character of this series. And, he kind of mentions in the first movie that these guys, these group of individuals, are always looked at as the bad guys because of just who they are, and even the animals they chose, they're all animals that people are scared of in some way. And so I really liked how that movie really kind of surprised me with its theme. And so that kind of just gave me even more enthusiasm to want to watch Bad Guys 2. So now that we got to check it out on opening night, let's go ahead now and right over to the non-spoiler section. That way you can kind of get a little bit of a high-level overview of my opinions on this film. Okay, after leaving the theaters and watching Bad Guys 2, I gotta say that this was such a fun time and a fun sequel overall. I think they really nailed, and by they, I should call out the director of Bad Guys and Bad Guys 2, Pierre Perifel. I think he and the team really did a awesome job to build on top of the story and the characters that they set up in the first Bad Guys. So like I mentioned, if you hopefully have seen Bad Guys, essentially that film kind of deals with the idea of these bad guys that need to turn good in order to prove that they shouldn't go to jail. But eventually they start noticing that, well, being good actually is a great thing. And now all they want to do is find that feeling of being good. In this film, now you're kind of just following these same characters, the bad guys, but now they're struggling in their life because now they're not bad guys, they're not stealing, they're not pulling off heist. Instead, they're trying to look for normal jobs, and it's just a struggle for them. And so I really liked how they were able to really move these characters into a different direction and kind of take them down these very interesting paths and see where they would go. Apart from the direction that these characters are going, this film also just not only adds more action, but it also adds just cooler music and just different ways that they were able to also add a couple of animations into certain sequences that felt different from the first one. Not drastically different, but just enough to make it feel like, hey, we're still trying to develop this kind of world of the bad guys and this animation style. So we're trying to add different types of elements. And I really liked where they did that. There's a couple of scenes that we'll talk about later that, again, I really enjoyed at how they animated. And it kind of reminded me of other animations and shows that we've seen in the past as well. But overall, I had a really good time in regards to the Bad Guys 2. Let me give you a quick synopsis. That way, it kind of gives you a good sense as to what this film is about. In The Bad Guys 2, we start off with basically the bad guys now trying to look for normal jobs. But as you would expect, they start struggling because their resumes are all of the bad stuff that they've done. And so nobody wants to give them a chance. And then to make it even worse, now there's a phantom bandit, a new criminal that is trying to steal these artifacts. And they actually start stealing these artifacts and framing the bad guys in order to prove that, hey, the bad guys, they're just as bad as they were before. So now Mr. Wolf and everybody else on the bad guys team have to figure out who the Phantom Bandit is and what their grand scheme is in the entire movie. So that's essentially what's taking place in regards to this film. Once again, I had a great time. This movie is just as funny as the first one. There's a lot of situational stuff that the bad guys get into, but also a lot of great one-liners that are thrown in there. Mr. Shark always has those kind of moments where he's like the master of disguise. So he always has those kind of hilarious scenes that he ends up kind of encountering with other characters. But I had a great time watching this movie. Let me go now into a little bit of a pros and cons section. That way, if you're still kind of thinking about, well, what really is good about this movie, this will hopefully kind of help you decide whether, like, hey, some of these pros or cons might make you want to watch it or not watch it. All right, first pro that I want to call out is the animation. Now, that might sound super obvious. Yes, I know the entire film is animated. DreamWorks has been doing a really good job with these films. But let me be more specific. My pro is the animation style of the action that they had in this movie. There was so much that they were able to just highlight and show in regards to car chase scenes. They have a lucha tournament that comes out. They have a sequence where the bad guys have to get on a space rocket. Every single one of those action sequences was just so well animated. It was just executed incredibly. There was moments where you could kind of see like the car chase scenes. They had one in the bad guys as well, the first film, and in this one they just extend that car chase scene even longer and just make it more extravagant. And they're able to just make it so outlandish and crazy. Obviously, because the advantage of it being animated, but it all just looks so smooth. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of the animation. Also, got to give a shout out to the animators for DreamWorks. I mean, they've been killing it not only with the bad guys, but also with other movies. Like you had The Wild Robot last year, you had Dogman earlier this year. And so they're really on a roll. And I really dig the way that they're animating this world of the bad guys. So props to all the animators, all the artists that were able to kind of create these characters and all the new styles that they added. Don't want to spoil too much because I want you guys to at least experience it, especially from that lucha tournament aspect of it. But again, really enjoyed that piece of the bad guys. Okay, second pro for me has got to be Daniel Pemberton's score. He is the composer. Daniel's music has really been a big part of my life over the last couple of years, just because I really started listening to his scores when he did the score for Across the Spider-Verse. And that score was just incredible because it developed a type of sound for not only Miles, but for Gwen Stacy, for Spider-Man 2099. And it just made this kind of multiverse have a sound to it. And every time I think of anything multiverse related, Daniel Pemberton's score is really what I can think of. And so what Daniel was able to do with this score for the bad guys too was add in those elements of the fast pace, the heist, the con artist, and have that have its own kind of unique type of sound and make it something that you can really kind of feel like, oh yeah, now we're in the moment of a heist, or no, now we're on the moment where they're about to get on the rocket. And it starts elevating the tension or add stakes to some scenes. And I think that's when music and the score really does its job. When you can hear it very slightly or hear it very well, but it also makes you a little bit more like anxious, or it makes you a little bit more excited, where it almost wants you to root for the bad guys. You want them to make it on the space rocket. You want them to figure out who this Phantom Bandit is. And it's all due to this great score and the music that Daniel Pemberton was able to make. And again, I think he's able to really come up with a clever way to keep up with this very fast-paced movie and story with music that relates so well. All right, and then the final pro for me on The Bad Guys 2 has got to be the ending. Now, I'm not going to spoil the ending. I'm going to be very vague, very general, but what I love most about the ending is a couple things. First one is the penultimate scene that kind of leads up to the ending is just a hilarious joke. It's about the bad guys and their whole outcome as to what they were able to accomplish in the mission. It was just so funny. But more so, the ending itself actually sets up for future sequels in this animated universe. And that actually got me excited. I really dug how they were able to not only relate it to what the bad guys were going through at the beginning of the movie, it actually resolves a thread there, but it also kind of gives you ideas of, oh, okay, so this is where they're planning to go. I wonder like how many stories we can get of the bad guys in this kind of a realm of where they're planning to go. So we'll talk about that more in the spoiler section, but that's just a pro for me. Be on the lookout if you do watch it for that third act and the ending of it, because I think it sets up for some fun adventures that the bad guys can go on. All right, I'll make this short and sweet. For cons, don't really have any. I don't have anything that really brought down my experience. Again, I found the movie funny. I thought the characters were just as cool as the first one. I mean, I always like watching Wolf and seeing him come up and strategize with all these plans. So no negatives for me on this film. Again, not perfect, but just nothing that really kind of calls out to me as to something that I maybe didn't enjoy, or any jokes that just didn't really land for me. All right, last but not least, here's my personal recommendation. You just heard me talk all this positive stuff about The Bad Guys 2. My recommendation is, if you enjoyed the first Bad Guys, I would highly recommend you guys go to theaters and check this one out in theaters. Again, you will not be disappointed by the jokes, what the team goes through, some of the conflict that they face, and obviously the introduction of a new bandit as well is also a very interesting dynamic. But that would be my recommendation. Again, if you enjoyed that one, and also if you just enjoy seeing a different style of animation, DreamWorks, again, has been doing a great job over the last couple of years. So that would be my recommendation. Definitely give this one a shot in theaters. All right, now that we've gone through all the non-spoiler stuff, we've given our recommendations, let's now swing on over to the spoiler section of this podcast. Now we will start talking about all these different types of details, but more importantly, we're going to start deciding if this movie is timeless. Is this something that I can see myself rewatching various different times in the future and maybe become one of my favorite movies? So if you have not seen the movie, please jump out of the video now. That way you do not get spoiled. Jump out of the podcast, watch the movie, then come back and let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my opinions. All right, so just to reiterate, this specific section, we're going to be deciding whether this movie is timeless for me. Again, this is going to be a personal opinion. This also does not mean that if I say it's not timeless, that I am, dogging on the movie and saying like, oh, this movie isn't worth watching. No, this just means that, hey, I enjoyed it. I recommend it to you guys. But is it something that I can rewatch multiple times? Is it something that I would want to own as like a Blu-ray, or own it digitally as well? Now let's go ahead and jump into that question right now. Is The Bad Guys 2 a timeless movie? For me, as of today, I think that this movie is not timeless. It is on the cusp. It is right there, just so close. But I'm going to say that it is not going to be a movie that I see myself at least rewatching like other movies that I've enjoyed, maybe related to heists or other animated films. Let me jump into the reason why. And it's really only one big one, is I can't help but compare this one to the first film. Both Bad Guys and Bad Guys 2, I feel like they're both on the same level. They're both great. There are fun movies. They make you laugh, but they have some type of a theme. But that's where I think I can pinpoint it, which is I think the theme in The Bad Guys, the first film, I think was just a lot stronger. It was more, there was more conflict. There was more twists in regards to characters that you didn't expect it to turn, and they ended up doing that. And so from a story perspective and a theming perspective, I actually prefer the first one. This one does have, again, a lot more in regards to the team having those kind of conflicting thoughts as to, well, did we make the right decision going good? Look how much we're struggling to find jobs and to just be in society. And so there's, again, very interesting themes that they throw in there. Also, the comparisons that they see, the bad guys themselves, with some of the new bandits, because it's not just one phantom bandit, it's actually three new criminals that are trying to basically follow and also exceed what the bad guys have done before. And so there are interesting moments there, but I don't know, to me, I just felt like there wasn't a strong theme here. There was definitely more action, definitely a lot more hilarious moments that they were setting up, but I just kind of wish that some of the themes were a little bit stronger. And again, I know it's more of a personal thing. I feel like I'm just very much comparing these two when I shouldn't be. It should just be kind of a standalone experience. But to me, I can't stop thinking about how great the first one was. So that's one of the reasons why I don't think I would watch this one as much, because I feel like the first one just kind of hit me in a better spot at that moment when I watched it. Now, again, that could just be my own thoughts, my experiences. Maybe if I rewatch it again and maybe if my brother ends up putting it on one time on the TV, maybe I'll change my opinion on it. But as of today, it is not timeless. However, there are a couple of things that I wanted to highlight since we are in spoiler section. That way we can kind of talk a little bit more about what I enjoyed about it and also the future of this franchise. Okay, since we were talking very much about the themes and the concepts of what some of the characters in the Bad Guys 2 were going through, I got to call out that one of the things that I really enjoyed in this one is Wolf, who is voiced by Sam Rockwell. He ends up having a moment where he almost feels conflicted, like, did I make the right decision to go good? Because he is talking to Kitty Cat, who is the leader of these new phantom bandits and new criminals, and he ends up, going to a discussion with Kitty Cat, and Kitty Cat ends up saying, don't you feel like when you were bad, those are the best moments? And then you see this moment where Wolf ends up having a flashback, and he starts thinking about all the fun times that he had with his friends, and it was all moments when they were in heist or stealing stuff. And so it was all when they were criminals. And so I really dug that. And I kind of wish that was explored a lot more, because I feel like that's what was kind of missing in regards to like the theming of this movie is, it's very convenient that they obviously went good and they're trying to stay good. But I really enjoy that they kind of have that moment of doubt, or most likely Wolf had that moment of doubt of, well, did I make the right decision? Because all my friends are struggling, but when we were criminals, we were all super happy. And so I really like that aspect and how they kind of highlighted it. I just wish they showed a little bit more of that dynamic and conflict. All right, other thing that I really enjoyed, I dug the action sequence when the bad guys try to get on the rocket. That to me was probably the best done scene of maybe both movies. I thought it was incredible how they animated them going up into space. And there's a couple things that really work in this scene. One, you have the music, which is adding the thrill to that specific sequence. Then you have how it's being animated. There's one point where you have the bad guys jump from one of the rocket pieces to the actual main rocket that they're trying to land into, and there's like a slow-mo shot, and you see the sun in the background. It was such a cool and beautiful animation that was, again, my favorite shot, and again kind of feeds into my favorite scene, because when they actually get higher and higher, and as the rocket starts going past the stratosphere and going into or out of the orbit of Earth, you start seeing all the different ice that's starting to accumulate on all the characters because of how cold it is getting, and they're still trying to find a way to kind of get on the ship. So that entire sequence of them jumping onto the rocket to save the day was just so well executed in this movie. All right, and then other thing that I wanted to call out in regards to the bad guys was the ending. Okay, I kind of teased it a little bit in my pros and cons, but I want to spoil it here. Obviously, the bad guys too, they all save the day. You have Wolf, Shark, Webbs, you have Snake, and you have Piranha, all saving the day. They stop the criminals. And what's so funny is that they're on this, they're almost like an international space station that's coming crashing down to Earth after they saved the day. And now they're crashing. And then you have Wolf giving an inspirational speech. He goes, "We have to have hope, guys. We can land this ship." And then everything cuts to black, and then immediately you're at a funeral home, and it's basically the funeral of the bad guys. And so it was just such a crazy edit where you think that they're actually gonna show them landing the International Space Station. Instead, it's at their funeral, and it sets up like that they're dead. Instead, what ends up happening is that they faked all of the bad guys' deaths in order to actually enlist them as secret agents. So that is the ending of the Bad Guys 2. You have all of the bad guys. Now they have jobs. Now they have actually something to look forward to. And now they are secret agents for some type of government program. And so, very interesting. I actually really dug that because now, when talking to my brother, now I started thinking, okay, these animated films kind of felt like the animated versions of like the Ocean's movies or heist movies. But now, the bad guys becoming secret agents, this now kind of leads into the thought of maybe this starts becoming more about missions. And we just had the end of Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Maybe now we have the start of this animated universe dealing all about secret missions with the bad guys. And I'm all for it because there was a couple of scenes at the beginning that felt very much like Mission Impossible and had that influence of you had Wolf coming straight down, parachuting, and then kind of crashing right into the perfect spot of a specific type of house that he's trying to infiltrate. And it was just so well done. And I didn't even clock that, oh yeah, this world could eventually turn into something like Mission Impossible. So really dug that. I thought that's a very clever way to end this movie. And again, it opens the door for multiple different stories that can be told with the bad guys now being secret agents. So that now they can start pulling off crazy missions rather than just stealing or performing heist. Now they're going to be trying to stop different types of global threats around the world. So really enjoyed how they were able to kind of land that plane in Bad Guys 2 and also set up the future for this universe. All right, everybody, those are all of my thoughts in regards to Bad Guys 2. Now, I think it is not a timeless movie, but still enjoy it and still would recommend it. But I want to hear from all of you on the Spotify comments, in YouTube comments. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Let me know what your opinions are in regards to the Bad Guys 2. Did you enjoy it? Did you like that scene when they're jumping on the rocket? And if you did, well, let me know. And if you didn't, well, let me know what was your favorite scene and if you think this movie is timeless. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for all of those that have listened all the way through to my full thoughts about the Bad Guys 2. My name is Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 144 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to check out next week's episode because every 5 episodes we have a guest. It's going to be my brother Omar. And so we're going to be talking about a new movie and deciding together if it is timeless. All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys and hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And I'll talk to you later.